For the longest time, connecting our brains to computers, that was pure science fiction, right? Well, not anymore. That sci-fi is becoming sci-fact, and it's happening fast. The line between us and machines, it's blurring right in front of us, and a huge part of that is because of companies like Neuralink.
And just recently, Elon Musk dropped some news that really accelerated things. I mean, this isn't just another small update. We're talking about a massive shift from, a handful of controlled experiments to actual mass production of these brain-computer interfaces. This is where it gets real, folks, and honestly, it's happening way faster than most of us thought possible.
So what does mass production even mean here? Well, Neuralink is aiming to do 20,000 implants a year by 2031. Think about that for a second. 20,000 brains every single year connected to the digital world. The scale is just mind-blowing, and it forces us to ask some really, really big questions. And that really brings us to the core question of all of this, right? It's not just about the tech anymore. It's about us. Are we, as a society, as individuals, actually ready for what's coming? Let's dive in and break it all down.
Okay, so what exactly is this thing they're putting in people's brains? It all starts with something called the N1 implant. Picture a device about the size of a coin. Its job is to read and write neural signals. But the real magic, the really incredible part, is how it actually connects to the brain.
So this little device has over 1,000 electrodes, and they're attached to these ultra-thin threads that are, get this, way thinner than a single strand of your hair. And that flexibility, it's absolutely crucial. See, the brain is super soft, almost like gelatin, and these flexible threads can move with it. That drastically reduces the risk of damage compared to the old-school, rigid tech.
But wait a minute, how on earth do you insert threads that are thinner than a human hair into a living brain? You definitely can't do that by hand. And that's where the R1 surgical robot comes into play. Honestly, this robot is the key to making this whole thing work on a huge scale. It can perform the surgery with a precision that no human surgeon could ever hope to match, expertly weaving around tiny blood vessels and cutting the surgery time down to less than an hour. It's this automation that makes a crazy goal like 20,000 implants a year seem, well, actually possible. So, the tech is cool, the robots are amazing, but what does all this mean for real people? Let's shift gears and look at the human side of the story, because what we're seeing from the very first patients, it's nothing short of life-changing.
Meet Noland Arbo. He's Neuralink's first human patient. After a diving accident left him quadriplegic, simple things like using a computer were incredibly slow and frustrating. But now, after the implant, he can play video games, make art, communicate, all of it just by thinking. So when you hear him call it a superpower, man, you really feel the weight behind those words.
But, this is cutting-edge science, and it wasn't a perfectly smooth ride. A few weeks after the surgery, a problem came up. Some of the threads actually retracted a little bit, which made the device less effective. That was a serious challenge for sure. But here's the amazing part. They didn't have to go back in for another surgery. They fixed it with software by tweaking the algorithms to be more sensitive. That was a massive win and really showed how adaptable the whole system is. And right now, the focus is 100% on medical uses. In fact, the FDA has given Neuralink's speech restoration device breakthrough status, which basically fast-tracks it for people with conditions like ALS. As co-founder DJ Seo puts it, this is all about giving people back fundamental human abilities that they've lost. Now, even though Neuralink gets almost all of the media attention, it's so important to realize this isn't just a one-company show. There is a whole new industry popping up around this tech. The race for the brain is on, and the competition is getting fierce, with everyone taking their own unique approach. So, let's do a quick flyby of the competition. First, you've got a company called Synchron. Their big thing is they avoid open brain surgery altogether by threading their device up through the jugular vein. Super cool and much less invasive, but the trade-off is it only has 16 electrodes. Then there's BlackRock. They're the old guard with decades of experience, but their tech uses rigid electrodes. And finally, you have Precision, who's working on a system that just sits on the surface of the brain. Super low risk, but you lose a lot of signal resolution. It's really that classic trade-off, How invasive do you get versus how much performance you want?
Okay, but with all this incredible progress comes some really big, thorny questions. I mean, connecting our brains directly to the internet, that is opening a Pandora's box of ethical and societal problems that we absolutely have to face.
And this gets us into some pretty heavy territory. Think about it. Can your brain be hacked? Well, researchers are already saying yes, it's possible. Who owns the data from your thoughts? You? The company? The government? And what happens when some people are enhanced and others aren't? Does that create a whole new kind of social divide?
And maybe the deepest question of all, are you still you when part of your mind is a machine? These aren't just questions for a sci-fi movie anymore. This is real.
Dr. Raphael Yuste, a top neuroscientist at Columbia, really lays out the stakes here. He says this technology can save lives, or it could destroy them. The potential for good is just massive, but the potential for things to go wrong is equally terrifying. His point is, the time to have this conversation is right now, before this tech is everywhere.
Because let's be real, while the focus today is all about fixing medical problems, the long-term vision is so much bigger. The end game here was never just about therapy. It's always been about moving into the world of human enhancement.
Elon Musk has been super clear about his ultimate goal for this. He calls it symbiosis with AI. He's worried that artificial intelligence is going to get so smart, so powerful, that humanity will basically get left in the dust, kind of like a house pet. And his solution to that problem? If you can't beat him, join him. Literally merge with the machine.
So what does that symbiosis actually look like in practice? Well, imagine being able to download a new skill directly into your brain, like learning a language instantly. Imagine communicating with someone else mind to mind, no words needed, or having a perfect memory that you can search like a computer. That's the future they're building. It's a total redefinition of what it even means to be human.
I think neuroethicist Dr. Nita Farahani really hits the nail on the head. She says the question isn't if this is going to happen anymore. It's already here. The real challenge now is figuring out how we manage it. What are the rules? How do we steer this incredibly powerful technology in the right direction?
So, we kind of end up right back where we started. The cyborg era isn't coming, it's here. And it leaves all of us with one last massive question. We have a technology that can heal and empower us in ways we can barely imagine. But it also has the power to divide us and control us. So the real question is, how are we, all of us, going to make sure this builds a future that benefits everyone, and not just a privileged few? That's the challenge waiting for us.